Hi, this is Denise Mathew. I hope everyone's doing well. I wanted to come in today, and I didn't really want to make this video, but I just felt like I needed to. And when I was looking at the chart of George Floyd, I thought it needed to be talked about because this is not just going to go away. There's been many people who have had horrible things like this happen to them, but my belief based on the chart and the gates that we're transiting and basically everything that's happening is that this is not going away. And it's the wake-up call that we all needed. And I'm going to say that I had no idea. It's shocking to me, but having said that, knowing that people are dealing with this every day and being looked at in a different way than someone like anybody like me is it's really hard to comprehend. But having said that, I want to look at the chart, his human design chart. I want to look at the transits and just show the interaction between the two charts. And I just feel that this is the moment that we could, possibly make some level of change. And for me, I think I just need to talk about it because being silent is, I think, almost saying that if I stay silent in fear that I might offend, then, what's that saying? It's easier for me to stay silent than it is to speak, but I'm going to speak. And I hope people will understand that whatever I say is coming from my heart. It's not coming from a place of anything more than that. So let's have a look at the charts and let's just talk about this. Now, based on the time of his birth that I got was from the obituary. I got it from Wikipedia, and I believe it was from the obituary from the place where he was being waked. And I hope it's correct. I don't have a time, but having said that, most things will stay the same except for the profile and the moon, which will change. And he was born under the cross of the Clarion, as far as I can see. So based on his birthday, he was born under the cross of the Clarion. And the founder of human design, Ra Uru, was born under the same cross, which is, it's the top four numbers, which are 57, 51, 62, and 61. Now, 57 is penetrating intuition, and the 51 is shocking. It could be someone who is shocking. It is all about initiation. I'll talk a little bit about that in 2 seconds. And 62 is a practical expression. I did a video about that not long ago, but it's just a practical expression of the world. And the 61 is reaching to know the unknowable. And it really is about spirituality too. And when you have this whole cross, it is about bringing a practical expression of spirituality into the real world. And usually it's from the point of someone being initiated into it. The gate 51 is half of the channel of the shaman, which is a 2551. And that is all about initiating us into the love of spirit. And that's the whole point of it. So the one thing I could say is that if we look at his chart, he didn't just have it in the earth. That would have been grounding him. He also had it in his Mars. So it was more of a theme for him. And so if we look at his chart, we see that, he's a generator type and here to work. And I think the fact that, the left angle cross of the Clarion, there was a Saudi Arabian man who was, he was a reporter for the New York Times, and he was in Turkey. I think it's Hashiagi. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but he was somebody who went to Turkey to get I think something that he could get married to his girlfriend. And when he was there, he was murdered. And, it was having to do with his home country and people not really being very happy with some of the things he was saying. And this isn't about him, but what I am saying is that he was born under the same cross of this Clarion. And what this is all about is, it is about a wake-up call. This is what this whole cross is about. And you know, George Floyd is a wake-up call for all of us, and he's a wake-up call for a lot of people who didn't know or maybe looked away. And I can honestly say I didn't see the world through the eyes that I've been, you know, I haven't seen it like this, and I see it now. And I knew that you know, change was coming. I mean, 2020 has been all about change, and I knew things were going to shift. But you know, having said that, nobody could really expect what's happened. It's been quite a roller coaster of a year. But I think if there's anything we can take from this is there is potential for us to wake up. And you know, we can talk about awakening in the perspective of the spiritual perspective, and I think that, you know, that's all good and well, and I'm not against that. But I also want to talk about it in the perspective of right here on earth, you know, the concept that heaven can wait. You know, we can wait to get to heaven, but we can't wait to act on all the horrible things that are showing up in our world. We can't wait to get some justice for people who are living under conditions that I don't think anybody should live under. You know, this is not okay. But knowing about it, I think, is the first step in the right direction. I mean, I don't think there's any easy solution to these problems, but at least if we know something and we can try and make a difference, I mean, that's a step in the right direction. I'm not here to preach because that's not my place, but I will get back to his chart. Right? So let's just look at his chart, and you know, he does have the gate 61 way up in his earth. So it's all about grounding and, you know, reaching to know the unknowable. So this is a man who probably was quite spiritual. We also see that he has the gate 10, which to me, and I've done a whole video on this, the gate 10 is one of the most, if not the most important gate, you know, of our time. This is about empowering. This is about lifting people up or ripping them down. And right now it's in the nodes as well. So like, if you look at his nodes, this is what the nodes that he has right now are the nodes that we have right now on his personality side. I mean, this is synchronistic. This is, you know, it's real. It's a message. It's not just something, you know, just one more person who died under horrible circumstances by not seeing the division between helping by, I don't know why. I can't say why, but let's get back to the chart. So ultimately we have the nodes and they're the same. So what does that mean? These are the themes that he was brought into this world to show the world. And the call of the Clarion is, like I said, a wake-up call. It is a call to awaken us. And I'm going to show you the transits that are happening and were happening at that particular moment of time when he was killed, and it all lines up. I mean, you know, and they said he was a caring man, and he's got the gate 27. I mean, that's a deep caring. You know, this is somebody who wants to help people, who wants to nurture people. And not only that, I mean, he also had the gate 19, a very sensitive energy. I mean, he was a big guy, like 6'6" or 7. And, you know, like and they called him a gentle giant. And I can see that in his chart. And yes, he had his struggles just like everybody does. Unfortunately, you know, his struggles, you know, put him in a position where, I mean, he lost his job because of the pandemic. And I could only imagine the desperation that was, you know, part of who he was at that particular moment in his life. And we can always think about what people are thinking, but we don't ever know. And all I could say is that, you know, based on his chart, you know, if you look at that, this is a person who had a level of spirituality, they had caring, and they were sensitive. You know, they looked out and they saw the hurt in other people. They saw, you know, they were empathic. And he was, based on his chart, he was a natural empath, so he could feel other people's energy. And you know, down below here we have the gate 41. That was his reward. His reward was to, you know, to have his dreams come to reality, you know? And when you see his reward was to be sensitive, because Jupiter's our reward, what we get when we do our Saturn. And his reward was to be sensitive, and it was to hold on to a dream so that he could bring it into reality. And so I guess if we could say anything, maybe we can bring his dream into reality, where people don't have to, just feel fear every day, to be scared, to put their hands in their pockets. And we have to change that, and we can. If we look at the day of the day he was killed, there's a lot of energy in here, and I will just show you in a minute the energy between the guy, that the officer, and him as well. Anyway, so the day of, in actually that time period, if you look at what transits were happening, we have the 20, and this is about being in the now. And so I don't think there was anything more than, it was that now moment. If we look at it at the 6th line, I mean, this is the role model. We were being in the now, and in being in the now, the world has changed, and the world did change, and it will change forever. 34 can be about bullying, but it also can be about the concept of a true hero. And so we were grounded in a true hero's moment. He didn't want to be there. Nobody wants to be that kind of a hero. I mean, nobody wants to lose their life. But all we can do is hope that his life and all the lives that went before him will not be in vain. And I don't think they will be, because I don't think this is going away. And if we look at the moon was in the gate 39. This is a provocation. This is provoking people into the abundance of spirit. This is provoking people into the idea that there's enough for everybody. And right now, I think if you look at the world, it doesn't look like that. It looks like there's not enough for everybody. And there's lots of haves, and there's a lot of have-nots. And there's a lot of people in between. There's billionaires, and then there's people just living from hand to mouth. And this is provoking the world to look at that and say, okay, how can we change this? And as I told you before, the energy of the nodes that he was born with, they completely shifted. So now, we're going from the gate 10, which is all about empowerment, and now we're moving into the gate 15, because the gate 10 is in what they call the south node, or K2, and that's the past karma, and the future karma is the gate 15, and the gate 15 is all about humanity, but it's also about extremes. And I think the extreme was exactly what we saw. So it is about humanity. It is about extremes. It is about, something changing. So if we look at it, we see a hero that has provoked us into this idea of who deserves what and who gets what, and how is it like that, and how come we don't see that there's enough for everybody. And it was extreme. And then we look down at the Mercury, which is all about, communication, what's being communicated. And the gate 12 in the line 4 is considered the gate of the prophet. And this was prophesizing the idea that we are going into a new world. It can't be like this anymore. It's got to change, And if we look at the big themes of the year, we always look at, and I talked about this before, I have been talking about this idea that Jupiter and also Saturn were in the gate 60, and the gate 60 in Ra Uruhu's perspective is all about awakening through limitation. And I mean, at the beginning of the year we had and we still have the COVID-19, and yeah, absolutely, we were limited when we were under in lockdown and completely limited. We thought, oh, this is the worst it can get. And then we realized that no. And so when I talk about transcending, when I talk about the gate 60, we talk about awakening, we talk about transcending, we talk about transcending. Okay, so in a spiritual version, we could say transcending this reality into having a moment of enlightenment. Well, how about we take that out down to the world and have a moment of enlightenment and see that the world is on fire, literally and figuratively, and that we need to do better. And it only starts with the idea that, everything, if we go back down to that gate 41, which is the initiating codon, or the initiating sequence of human design, but it's also the initiating of the year. We look at it, everybody has to have a dream, and we have to hold on to that dream so that we can bring it into reality. So that's where we can start, and then we can just try and work through it and understand that it will never be solved in a day or a year or maybe even 5 years. But all you can do is, take one step at a time. The road of 1,000 miles begins with one step. I think there's nothing better to describe the journey that we can take. But, that's where we're at right now. It is about an awakening. Some people call it the Great Awakening. But I think that if we talk about it, we have to talk about it in the practical perspective. This is the world we live in. And what do we want it to look like? And those are the questions to ask ourselves. And we look at Uranus, and it is in, it's shocking return. Well, shocking return is we're returning to the same thing that has happened over and over again, but yet this is different. This is the time where finally we have to make a decision on where we want to go with this. And it's ugly to look at, but only in seeing the ugly can we try and change it. And if we don't look at the ugly stuff in our lives, in the world, then we're really just kind of living in a dream, instead of actually, like they say, the gate 41 is a visionary or a dreamer, and we can be visionaries, and less the dreamer, and find the purpose in it all. And I don't really want to put much emphasis on the other person's chart, but I'm going to just bring it up because I want to show the electromagnetics. Because between the two of them, you have the gate 25 up in the sun. And then on Georgia's side, you have the gate 51 in the earth. And that's the channel of the shaman. And it's a shocking situation that initiates us into a new way of being. Well, you think about a shaman, a lot of them have experiences which basically change their whole life. And as a general population, I think that we could look at this as this experience changing the world. And this is not just a U.S. problem. This is a world problem. And maybe it's worse in some places than others, but ultimately it's still something that has to be looked at. And I think the whole world is watching. I don't think that's by accident that the 25 and the 51 came together. And not only that, they're not just in the chart somewhere. They're high numbers. They're way up there in the top 4. I mean, this is part of the incarnation cross. And I don't think it's also by coincidence that they both have the gate 10. I mean, to me, the gate 10 is huge. Like I told you, like I said before, the gate 10 is all about empower or disempower, and we can decide to do what we want to do with it. There's also the electromagnetic of the 1222. And this is a very passionate energy that can be very extreme in its nature. There could be a really good connection where people like each other, but when it comes together, it can also be an extreme connection where things get out of hand. And I would say that would be the understatement. And based on George's chart, he would have been having a nodal return right now, which is he would have had a what's called a reversal of the nodes. And that's all about when you have what he had, which was the nodes sort of flipped. So it was a nodal reverse nodal return kind of thing. And usually that does mark a crossroads in the life. And I guess that would have definitely been the case. But I think that if anything, we can take it and use it as a crossroads in our evolution to where we want to go in the future. And not let it all be in vain. So I think that's all I'm going to say. And I just wanted to say that the reason why I wanted to come on again is because I just wanted to say that I don't feel that his death was just for nothing. I don't think he's going to be forgotten. I think that there's so many people that have had these kind of things happen to them, and if we all try and change something, if we all kind of, I guess, not look away from it. I think because that's the easiest way, is to look away and pretend that it's not real, and it's, you know, this whole idea that it's those people, not people I know, and it's on TV, and it's not the truth. But I think that I don't think there's anybody who can look at how George Floyd died and not be changed. And I think if there's anything that we can gain from it, is the concept that his life and his death were not in vain, and that someday, I mean, he will always go down in history for being somebody who gave us the wake up call. I mean, he gave his life to give us the wake up call, and I hope that in the future it will be for, you know, we will see the changes that probably he could have only dreamed of. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back soon. Take care.